have access to this information and to really, wake up and allow it to kind of move through them. And that's really what these systems are about, is they have to keep moving on because it's the light that's shared, right? This isn't my teaching. I'm just the guy who read it, right? And so, it's just my duty to pass it on and really help people with what has helped me in my life. And that's all I can really speak for is really what my experience of this information has been, because everything else is just abstract, and you get into the realm of fantasy and belief. And, there's a time and a place for belief, but in my experience, once you've experienced something, you own it. And so if the Buddha says, do this, and you will be liberated from your suffering, then I'm going to sit there and do it. And see if this guy knows what he's talking about, right? and so that's really, and that's really where these alchemical traditions come in, is your life and your body and your consciousness are the workshop. Yeah. So you have to test them and challenge them against reality and find what actually works and what is actually transformative in your life. And if it isn't, don't kid yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep working at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I consider myself to be the vials and beakers and chemistry sets on the table, and I always am the first one to try something on myself first and see what it does before I even suggest anybody else to think about it. And
that's it.
That really has served me the best. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about, excuse me, has to do with the movement of the serpent fire, the Kundalini energy. Have you experienced the Kundalini rising? Are you able to draw it up?
Sure.
What was the first time that you were able to do that? Because many people will meditate for decades trying to do that with the intent of doing it. Some people are having Kundalini experiences spontaneously and have had no spiritual training.
And it's getting out of hand in some ways for some people. And the Kundalini, I'm very careful with Kundalini energy, and I'm oftentimes kind of confronting people in my world who I will see who are just kind of really jumping into the Kundalini thing prematurely, because I can see that they have so many energies that are going to get unsettled, and so many things are going to come up for them that the Kundalini is just going to rock their world. Yeah. And so I got into Kundalini a bit later in my training, because from the Chinese perspective, you always work the lower centers, bring balance, root yourself, get grounded, and my primary orientation is Kung Fu. So it's incredibly grounding. So I had the privilege, I would say, to really come in from ground up versus from top down, which is where a lot of people go to. I mean, everyone wants to run to heaven, right? Everyone wants to have the blissed out experiences and all these types of things, and it can be very damaging. Now, does that make Kundalini bad? Absolutely not. Kundalini is a powerful, transformative art that, when practiced correctly, can really, awaken your energy body, enliven your chi flow and your prana, and really bring all sorts of wonderful things into your life. My perspective is that a lot of the people who get into Kundalini have very, how shall I say, distorted notions of who they are, and have very unhealthy relationships with their own sexuality and the concept of sexuality. And so a lot of Kundalini, in my opinion, is practiced incorrectly, because people don't understand Tantra well enough and understand the fundamental philosophies of how Tantra is supposed to work, and how it's this sacred act of recreating creation and following the divine feminine energy, and allowing the serpents to rise in a natural, healthy way. And so what happens is people will start doing this stuff, they'll hit something that they don't like, and they'll start to develop all sorts of complexes and abstractions around this energy that they still are not willing to face. And so it starts to create lots of very interesting kind of personality dynamics and just, craziness. And so, and it's unhealthy, right? And so, there's healthy ways to do these things, and there's the way a lot of people are doing these things. And I have this conversation with yoga teachers all the time, because a lot of what happens in the yoga community is the classes that fill up are the ones that cater to the people who come in and want the experiences, right? So you got these people playing lots of trance music and people kind of grooving through their flow and just, they've distorted the art, and, it might be beneficial for some people in that way, but once you step out of the sacred nature of why you're doing some of these things and it becomes just another gym class, it really starts to impact the ability of the art to help you wake up to who you are, because it becomes very reductionist in a way, and it's just another thing that you do.
Yeah. Well, everything is sacred, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and so if that's my favorite Einstein quote. There's only really two ways to see this universe: that nothing is a miracle, or that everything is a miracle.
Right.
And it's so long as you come from the perspective that everything is a miracle and everything is sacred, then everything that you do in your life becomes your yoga. It goes back to the conversation that we had earlier about meditation. Then meditation and yoga and all these things become part of your operating system, where life becomes a process of self-discovery and awakening and enlightenment and revelation, right? But if you start to quarantine those moments to, the hour and a half yoga class and the 20 minutes on your cushion, or, hey, I'm going to go hear the Dalai Lama speak and I'm going to wear all my prayer beads, we're kidding ourselves.
Yeah.
In that capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. If I was in LA closer to where you're at, I would be taking your classes in a heartbeat. I would be studying under you so fast it'd make your head spin.
Oh, amen. Well, I appreciate that. And what's happened with me with filmmaking and all these types of things is I've been traveling a considerable amount. I've been in Africa and Europe and all sorts of places, just making movies and making these stories. So what I decided to do last year with Sacred Mysteries was, I can't be there every Thursday anymore, and I don't need to be, because what happens is it becomes a trap. It's like, Pedram's the teacher, Pedram's the teacher, and so my message from the get-go has been, I am not the teacher. Your teacher is inside of you. Learn these exercises, and stop looking outside of yourself. So what I did was I worked with Sacred Mysteries, and they were really good about kind of letting me say what needed to be said and not watering anything down, which is what a lot of these companies want to do, is just, let's do yoga for weight loss. Let's do Qigong for, Qigong with coffee. And, all this kind of crap that people want to do to cater to the people who are asleep and don't really want to, wake up, but, want to dress themselves in yoga. And so we created this 3 DVD set that teaches a lot of these esoteric practices and just goes for it.
Absolutely.
And so I've been very happy with that, because, I say to people, great, what DVD are you on? What exercise are you on? Where are you stuck? Okay, go practice this and come back. And then, I'll pop into different towns and do workshops and seminars here and again, and really kind of help people along. But it's been this kind of growing movement within my own deal to not stand in front of people as a teacher, because that's a trap, and that's something that people really want to fall into in the West. So I'm like, here, watch these DVDs, practice this thing, and then let's talk about your experience of it, right? And so far so good. I've had students all over the world who are just practicing Qigong and doing their work, and we communicate via email, and I just kind of pat them on the back or say, maybe you want to try this way, and once a year or two, I'll see them in a workshop in their town, and that's it, right? And it's been very liberating in that way, because
I would like to reiterate what you said about Sacred Mysteries, because Jay Widener, who does the Sacred Mysteries series with Sharon Rose, is one of my very favorite people on the planet. And he's been on the show a few times, and his series is absolutely magnificent. He's way out beyond the cutting edge on the esoteric and on alchemy and a variety of subjects. So I just wanted to put a little plug in there for Jay because he's really working hard at it. He's coming out with some of the most, well, let's just say information that hasn't been allowed or hasn't come out heretofore.
Yes, they are torchbearers, and they are brave, and they are wonderful people. And
yes.
I'm happy and proud to know them because
absolutely.
The tendency in the market is always to cater towards stupid.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Well, the audience won't get that. Well, the audience doesn't want that. Well, you know what? This is the teaching. So I'm going to represent it for what it is, and the people who see it for what it is will gravitate towards it. And they've really held that, and that's commendable. And I take my hat off to them. Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned the Iron Age, and there's a couple of things: alchemy and the Kali Yuga. We're in the is it the Vedas that say that we're in the Kali Yuga and that this is the densest period before the Golden Age? And if so, obviously it's the dumbest. But no, seriously, it is the densest, least spiritual. And we're coming up on the odometer, aren't we, on the turning over of that age, the 26,000-year cycle?
Absolutely. I mean, we're a bit contentious about what the actual turning of the date is. Some people are hardline 2012ers, and and there's a lot of different interpretations of the Vedas, and it falls between the era that we're in right now and somewhere around 2100 to 2300.
Okay.
And so this is kind of broad interpretation of when that transition actually happens, and I haven't really seen compelling evidence in one way or another to say, well, that's the date that I'm going with, because I think that it's a transition, and it is this time of awakening, and it's a time of great shift. And so again, we're seeing all kinds of things happening that are just marvelous, and people are waking up. At the same time, we're seeing, all kinds of, dark news and crazy stuff going on in the world. And so it's an ancient Chinese curse, right? May you live in interesting times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's your personal feeling or view on the nature of spirit and the divine spark within, and how it comes and goes from the physical world?
It's something that has been the question of all questions, right? Is who are we? Where do we come from? How does this come about? Yeah, but my take on it is one of, we are spirit. We are part of this eternal flame, and we are just a kind of a fragmented part in our own consciousness of that. Mm-hmm. And I really do subscribe to the school of thought that we've come here to Earth for lessons, and that this is a school. Mm-hmm. And that this school is a place where we've intentionally wiped our memory, and the signature of light, or the quality of light that was emanating in the exact moment that we decided to incarnate, became a crystallized kind of imprint of how the energies of our life and our tendencies and our personalities and our elemental qualities and all these things would kind of manifest through our kind of unraveling of this thing called life, because we came in specifically to learn lessons and learn about the entirety and enormity of who we are, right? And so if you start looking at life as a school, then